Hello and welcome to the Satluj TV podcast. Our regular guest today is Dr. Singh Grewal, MD, a distinguished cardiology specialist in California with over 48 years of experience. Dr. Grewal is also a passionate advocate for Sikh and Khalistan causes. He's a co-founder of SikhHeritageEducation.com that documents and archives material relevant to Sikh rights and history, and was also the co-founder of World Sikh News. Now, deeply impacted by the events of 1984, Dr. Grewal has since then been a very powerful advocate ensuring the world never forgets those dreadful events. Dr. Grewal, welcome. Thank you for joining us once again today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
A pleasure as always. Now, Dr. Grewal, the leader of India's opposition, Rahul Gandhi, said recently the Waqf Amendment Bill is a weapon aimed at marginalising Muslims and usurping their personal laws and property rights. And he actually called it an attack on the constitution itself by the BJP, aimed at Muslims today, but sets a precedent to target other communities in the future. Now, this bill has led, of course, to violent riots across Indian cities. Could you tell us then, please, Dr. Grewal, what this bill is about and why you believe we should be worried about it?
So, what I think we like to discuss is Indian state and subjugation of religious minorities. So, this is one of the bill achieving the same aim by BJP government. Waqf is a word which is of Arabic origin. It literally means endowment. So the Muslims who believe in their religion have been giving their properties, monies for charitable purposes to building mosques, schools, hospitals, and other public institutions. And this, in India, there's more than 200 million Muslims. And India has the largest Waqf assets in the world, more than 1 million acres of land and 14 some billion dollars in US. The property is owned or controlled by Waqf. So this BJP government has been working very hard to marginalize Muslims and take over their religion and control. Basically, they would like to convert them back to Hindu fold, and not only they convert, but still treat them like low class. Even if they convert, they would not be treated as equal. So there have been a lot of problems going on for many years. So this bill, 1913 was the original bill, then 1995 was the last one, but they introduced last year and recently passed. So anybody, not only Muslim, could donate money or property to the cause they call Waqf. Okay, that's endowment in English. So like many people gave it to the universities, churches, and all that for charitable purposes. So now this bill, they have passed, they have restricted that only Muslim can give property or whatever the assets, but they have to be Muslim for 5 years and they have to own the property for 5 years. So non-Muslims are not allowed to do that. They have to be Muslim for 5 years, they have to own the property for 5 years. Okay? And the management of this Waqf was, there's a Waqf council at the central level, Waqf boards in the states. Different states have different laws from time to time to control the Muslim, but the central law usually prevails. So what they have done, they have changed the constitution in such a way that Waqf properties, Waqf boards, Waqf councils will be controlled not by Muslims, but by non-Muslims. So previously, they had eminent scholars, MPs, MLAs, judges on the Waqf Council and Waqf Board, and they manage. And they also had a tribunal which adjudicate any disputes which was pertaining to their religion. They have cancelled that. So the new Waqf Council will have 11 members. Out of that, 2 will be non-Muslims, so Hindus will be there. But there's no restriction on the rest of them. The majority can be Hindus, even though it is a Muslim issue, their properties concerning their religion. So by changing the constitution, they have allowed non-Muslims to be on the council, and the majority can be non-Muslims. The CEO of the Waqf Council will be not necessarily a Muslim. It will be some administrator who will control that. Then they also will identify the Waqf properties. You know, Waqf properties are not well managed. People have encroached and a lot of things because, you know, they don't, when it comes to legal issue, they don't have much say. So people have been encroaching and abusing, but they have been tolerating. Now the government has created there was a surveyor before who will survey the properties and certify who this belongs to. That has been eliminated. Now it is going to be deputy commissioner or collectors who will decide who this property belongs to. You know, some of these properties or mosques are 1,000 years old, 600 years old, and they are going to ask them to produce papers that they are the true owners of the property. And that is, you can imagine, where would that be evidence? How will they? The evidence will be only customary that they have been practicing there and they have a control. Now, if they will not be able to justify that, the collector will have the control and can declare that a government property. So the records there are so poor. I tell you my story. I was born in the city of Ludhiana, model town, which was not a city limit, but outside. And then later on became part of the city, and I can't find my birth certificate. My parents were both educated, birth was registered. If I can't find my birth certificate, how the 600-year, 1,000-year-old institutions are going to produce us papers to justify that it's their property? So there's a well-planned approach by the BJP government that they are going to slowly swallow those properties. The 14 billion US dollars will be given to Adani, Banis. I don't know who will it be. So it will not be controlled by Muslims. It will be controlled by non-Muslims, and the civil administrator, deputy commissioner, or collector will be the CEO. They will control that. The non-Muslim will not be able to contribute. And there's also hereditary issue, like, you know, in most of the countries, you can put in your will that you want your property to go to such and such institution or whatever you believe, not necessarily to your descendants. Even in US, you can do that. So they also say that you cannot disinherit your descendants. So basically, to control, not to go these assets to the Waqf endowments or the charitable institutions. So Article 26 of Indian Constitution allows each religious group to manage their own religion and their properties whatever way they want. So this is a clear violation of Article 26. So this is to marginalize the Muslims, and slowly, you know, they have attacked Christians in Manipur. The Sikh institutions, you know, we have 5 takhts, the important places of Sikh religion. The 2 are out of Punjab, one in Maharashtra, one in Bihar, Patna Sahib. So they have changed the board of that to government in Maharashtra appointed some non-Sikhs. So this is a aggressive beginning of ending the control of religion of the minorities by making laws. So this, interestingly, some of the Muslim attorneys groups went to the Supreme Court to appeal this law, and the Chief Justice of Supreme Court and 3 judges put stay on 2 important provisions of this. So it's not final yet. I think the final hearing will be sometime next month. It's amazing, the Indian press, members of the parliament, vice presidents of India have been insulting the Chief Justice of Supreme Court publicly. So not only they want to manage religion, they want also judiciary to run the way the BJP government wants. I think it's a very bad indication what India will look like in future. It is, I think, the responsibility, moral responsibility of all minority religions to stand together and make sure they cannot do that.
So, Dr. Grewal, we've seen and we've often reported about how the Hindu extremists have, over the course of recent years, infiltrated the SGPC, the Shiromani Akali Dal, and by doing so, they have weakened the voice of the Sikh community, particularly within the Punjab. Do you think this is the same sort of agenda that is being rolled out against the Muslim minority in India? Do you think now that the BJP government and the Hindutva forces are now turning their attention on this very powerful minority, and they are doing the same agenda where they are just through stealth and almost through legal means? It is essentially through legal means, but it is by stealth to giving the extremists control of those religious institutions in the Muslim community that they have done that they've done the same thing in the Sikh community in the Punjab. Do you think this is the same agenda?
Yes, the SGPC were, according to the act which was passed during British rule in 1920 sometime, I don't remember the date, it's about 100 years old, to manage the Gurdwaras. So then they weaken it by separating the Delhi Gurdwara. So the Delhi Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee, recently, a couple of years ago, they created Haryana SGPC. So they keep dividing and make it weaker. And SGPC elections are due for many, many years. They will not call, only government can call those elections. Why should the government be holding elections for the Sikh institutions? They will only call the elections when they're sure the new management or whosoever comes will be under their control. Yes, they have weakened the Sikh institutions, and they use their control to manipulate the people in the Sikh community. And I think this is very similar, maybe even worse. They not only want to control the management of their religion, they want to control all their assets. So, the mosque today could be temple tomorrow. Many places they are doing that, destroying the mosques and say this was a temple before. And who will have the authority to say who this belongs to? The deputy commissioner or collector, who's a government employee. So they can change the whole scenario, and financially the Muslim community, especially in the rural areas, have become very, very weak. They just not able to stand up. Now I think they will control their religious institutions the way they want. When the Hindu majority control the Waqf properties, that's their graveyards. What is the Waqf properties? They're the graveyards, mosques, schools, etc. So all that will become under the control of the Hindu. Basically, you can say it's a Hinduization of religious minorities. In simple terms, that's the only conclusion I can come to.
And what history has demonstrated over and over again is if you deprive a community of its voice, which in essence, this is what the Hindu government are doing. They are depriving all their minority communities their voice by taking over their religious institutions and their centres of democratic outpouring. Basically, these people, these communities, are not able to democratically get their voices heard in the governance of India. So, as history has shown us, this always fails in the end. This always leads on to, ultimately, it leads on to violence. Do you think, we've already seen violence in the streets across various cities in India from the Muslim population as a result of this proposed amendment. Can you see this escalating into something bigger?
I think your observation is correct. It will lead to violence, and Muslim community is so weak, they may not be able to start the violence. The RSS, BJP, they will start the violence and blame them, just like they did in Gujarat when Modi was the chief minister. And they would like to crush them more, just like Operation Shanti. They will be the ones starting, blaming them, and then crushing them more with more state violence, more atrocities. So, like recently, I am sure everybody in news business knows there was a violence in Kashmir where about 26 or 27 tourists were killed. Very unfortunate. So the Kashmir is occupied by 600,000 or more Indian Army personnel. This place is a beautiful place to go to. You have to walk about 1.5 hours to 2 hours or ride on a pony. And people go there. And this was the main tourist area which helps the Kashmir economy. Now, 2 or 3 people go there and they kill this 26 or 27 people. And they're blaming Pakistan. So this, anybody who can think, who does it help? It does not help the Kashmir. If Pakistan has any interest in welfare of the Kashmir, how can they do anything like that? They are so occupied with their own problems, violence, the Afghan refugees, and all the issues they have. Now they have 2 persons identified. They have destroyed their homes in somewhere in Kashmir. I don't remember the city. So if they were from Kashmir, why are they blaming Pakistan? Where did they get their weapons? Where was the police? Where was the army? There was not a single policeman on the way when these people were walking. Normally, people who have gone there before, every few hundred yards, you will see some police roadblocks. So this is the modus operandi of this BJP government. They want to crush Muslims. They want them to know that they are in charge, you're nobody. And the neighboring Pakistan, who supposedly is interested in the welfare of Muslims in India, because they're the same people from 47, before 47, it was one country. So obviously, they will be concerned about their brothers, just like Sikhs in California, Sikhs in Canada, UK are concerned for the welfare of the Sikhs in Punjab, India. It's a common sense that they will do that, but they want to subdue them. They want to scare them. We will cancel the water treaties, which is like act of war. And this is this election coming up in Bihar state. The Modi, the prime minister, have not said a word about what happened in Kashmir. He's campaigning in Bihar. So how can be the leader of the country be so unconcerned, not make any statements? Same way in Manipur, he never said anything. What happened? So many churches were destroyed, people were killed. I think they don't care about the people. They don't care about minorities. Their agenda is Hinduization of all the minorities, whatever they want. Now, I think there is a threat of war being talked on both sides. And, Punjab always bears the brunt of this war, like before we have done. I appeal to my Sikh brothers in Punjab and Indian Army not to participate in this on Indian side, because this is This is not only against Pakistan, this is against all religious minorities. They want to take over, destroy us one by one. If the India want to fight a war, let them fight in Gujarat. Gujarat has a bigger border than Punjab. And let's see how many Gujaratis will join the army. There, historically, there has not been one Gujarati soldier sacrificed for India when the hundreds and thousands, can't say the exact number, Sikhs and even Muslims are sacrificed for India. So this is a bad scenario. It's time for all religious minorities to join hands and fight this monster. And if they don't, I think then they will have themselves to blame.
And certainly, Dr. Grewal, if I take a flavour of many of the comments that we have received when we've covered the story of this killing in Kashmir, is there is a common theme that many of our commenters believe that there is this conspiracy behind this attack, that they do believe it was a false flag attack sourced from Indian intelligence. And of course, this does reflect what happened some 20-something years ago in the Chitting Singh massacre, when 36 Sikhs were murdered in cold blood, allegedly by Islamic terrorists. And in fact, it turned out, as a whistleblower has admitted since then, it was the Indian Army. It was an Indian Army operation to lay blame deliberately on Islamic fundamentalists. However, what is interesting, Dr. Grewal, is that the Chitting Singh massacre coincided with a visit by the American President Clinton. And of course, what's happened last week in Kashmir coincided with the Vice President of America's visit to India, J.D. Vance. Do you think there is a link there?
Yes. I think Indian government is in a lot of a problem with trade issues with the U.S., with the new administration. The currencies are reduced by 50% in 10 years. There are financial issues and a lot of corruption issues. Even the Modi is a big financier. Adani is in big trouble. So to take away all the attention from them, and when the Vice President of the United States goes there, they're trying to now blame all the issues on Muslims, like how they create violence. Then say they tell all the governments to condemn. Any reasonable government should condemn, any reasonable person should condemn this heinous attack on innocent tourists in Kashmir. But that's not the question. You condemn, I condemn. Kashmiri is the one who saved several people. Kashmiri Muslims saved several people, taking risk at their own life. So they are not responsible. Who benefits here is the Indian government to create a false propaganda to win elections, blame Pakistan, externalize their problem to outside instead of dealing with the problem they have at home. Yes, I think this was very well planned during the visit of Vice President J.D. Vance. And it's very unfortunate that they keep using these same tactics, which has not helped them, has not helped any other individual, but they are determined to carry out their agenda.
And do you think, Dr. Grewal, that, with all due respect to Narendra Modi, but do you think he would be mad enough and his hatred of the Sikh population and the Muslim minority is that great that he would literally risk a war with his neighbour Pakistan? Because ultimately that is what this could lead to, particularly with the suspension of the riparian rights of the Indus and the tributaries running through northwestern India. He is literally risking war with his neighbour, and of course both countries are nuclear powers.
Yeah, he's risking war, but these tyrants, when their brain gets occupied by the power, they forget the realities. Look at what Putin is doing. Has it helped Russia? Has it helped Ukraine? Help humanity? No, it's the arrogance of the tyrant. So same way, Modi is no different than Putin. He's a tyrant. He's preoccupied with his agenda. He does not necessarily care about the consequences. if there's a true war, I hope there's no war, and I don't think there will be, but there'll be a lot of drama to convince the Indians that Modi is their savior. If there's a true war, I think this war will not end without nuclear explosion. India is very powerful compared to Pakistan. Pakistan has its own problem, but Pakistan will not let them occupy them. Even if you use a nuclear power, I think they will do that. I can't speak for them, but I could see that they will not like to lose to this monster. And the Indians are capable of using nuclear power too. So it could be destruction of a monumental state, which is not necessary. It's not necessary. There is nothing to gain from this other than the ego of Modi government. I hope they have some restraint. Somebody reasonable can think there, but look like the people in the government, Ahmed Shah, Modi, they all gundas. We call gundas. I don't know how to describe them. That's what they did in Gujarat when they had a power. That's what they are doing every day. Now I think they become more brave and they think they can do anything, which is sad.
And of course, all this then has quite interesting connotations for the Khalistan movement, because amongst all this, and many critics, let's say, particularly from Hindutva, claim and accuse the Khalistan movement of basically just being an operation of Pakistan intelligence, ISI. They said the whole Khalistan movement was generated by Pakistan. Of course, that is not true. However, what is clear, what is interesting, I find, is that certainly in this recent conflict, Pakistan obviously will take every opportunity it can to have a go at India in whatever form it can. It is always open to a little bit of, let's call it, mischief. However, what we have noticed, for example, with the closure of the borders as a result of this incident, both Pakistan and India have closed the border between the two countries, and they have not allowed any nationals to cross that border, except Pakistan will allow Sikhs on pilgrimages to visit the Gurdwaras, particularly Kartarpur as an example. They will allow Sikhs still to cross that border. So Pakistan has very openly and very publicly acknowledged that they do not see Sikhs, the Sikh community, as Indians. They see them as a separate community. By implication, do you feel then that implies that Pakistan would therefore support Khalistan as a concept?
Well, I just came from there. I was there for a couple of weeks. I, with my wife, wanted to see Gurdwara. She had never been there, Nankana Sahib, Panja Sahib, and Kartarpur. We were treated well. We were treated well, not by government, by people. The friends we have, common friends we have, we were treated very well. No hostilities. People were inviting us to their homes for dinner. Nothing to do with the government. Okay. So then there was a Vaisakhi. There was 7,006 pilgrimages visiting Pakistan. So we did not know any one of them, but we saw them. There were 3,500 in one group, 3,500 one group. We saw them in some gurdwaras like Panja Sahib. There were about 3,500 of them. We just visited and we didn't know anybody, so we didn't have any. But we saw them, how the security forces of Pakistan was making sure that these people are safe and no mischief is carried out. And, the langar, the kitchen, everything was well served. They are going there out of the way to make sure the Sikhs understand that they respect their religion and they are friends. So I think we have a very, very common heritage, and hopefully our people will understand that these Hindutva people do not tolerate us. Interestingly, so this is not concerning. I decided to send my saliva for DNA. I don't know why they did it. You know what the result came? Say Punjab/Pakistan. There's no difference. we have in genetics also. The same people. There's no need for our people to fight with each other just because this Hindutva people want us to fight. We should not do that. The trade between two communities, two Punjabs, is beneficial to both. But because it helps the Punjab, the Indian government would not let it happen. The tourists going to Pakistan help them, and they don't want it to go.
And ironically, it's the Pakistan government that treats the Sikh community better than the Indian government. But there we must leave it, Dr. Grewal. But indeed, we will be talking again with Dr. Grewal soon to continue our discussion. Dr. Grewal, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Angus. Waheguru ji ka khalsa, waheguru ji ki fateh.
And thank you for watching the Satluj TV podcast. We will see you next time.